here is every demon moon, and I'm gonna be explaining each of their backstories. Starting with the demon who killed her husband after he sold her dress. This is the demon moon Nakime, and this instrument caused her to end her own husband. See, Nakime lived a poor life because her husband always gambled away their wealth. One day, the husband took his addiction too far and ended up gambling away the dress that Nakime performed in. He begged her for forgiveness, but this time he had gone too far. In a fit of rage, Nakime grabbed a hammer and ended her husband. Before she could even hide the body, her manager knocked at the door and said, "Nakime, it's time to perform." She grabbed her instrument and took to the stage, nervous because she was poorly dressed. But to her surprise, the crowd loved her music. They ended up chanting for an encore, and from that moment on, Nakime began murdering someone before each of her performances, believing that this gave her good luck. That is until one performance where she made a deadly mistake, picking Muzan to be her next victim. She waited till he was alone and hit him with a hammer, but he turned around completely unhurt. Muzan was so impressed by her hammer skills that he decided to turn her into a demon. Now, Nakime might have killed her husband, but the next Kizuki, Hantengu, took things even further by marrying and ending 7 different women. It all started when he was a child, because Hantengu was a pathological liar who always found a way to blame others for his mistakes. And things got worse as he grew up, because he went from lying to murdering people. See, Hantengu would marry someone, have kids with them, then he'd convince himself that he was being mistreated and kill his entire family. He managed to do this 7 times before he was finally captured and sentenced to death by decapitation. It seemed like he was finally getting the punishment he deserved, until Muzan arrived and turned him into the demon we know today. Next, we have Akaza, the dude who turned Rengoku into a donut. But he wasn't always like this. See, Akaza was a criminal who roamed the streets, beating up anyone who looked at him. Talk about insecure. And when he challenged the dojo master Keizo to a fight, Akaza expected an easy win, but instead, he got his butt whooped. The master invited Akaza to his dojo, and he quickly became a talented martial artist. While there, Akaza fell in love with his master's sickly daughter, taking care of her when he wasn't training. Things went well, and for the first time in his life, Akaza felt at home, eventually marrying the daughter. But things wouldn't stay happy for long. While Akaza was out of town, a jealous man at another dojo decided to get revenge. See, he had been in love with Akaza's wife, and when she got married, he was so angry, he poisoned her water well. Both the dojo master and the daughter died, and when Akaza returned, he went insane, going on a mad rampage and killing the jealous man's entire dojo with his bare hands. It was such a massacre that it even caught the attention of Muzan. He investigated the crime scene, expecting one of his demons to be the culprit, but was shocked to see a human. Muzan turned him into a demon, and Akaza quickly became the Upper Moon Rank 3. Now, Akaza almost changed his ways, unlike Doma, who did horrible things even as a kid. See, Doma was born with rainbow-colored eyes, causing his village to worship him and make him the leader of the Paradise Faith cult, where he shared the knowledge of the gods. But there was just one problem. Doma was faking it all. The gods weren't actually talking to him, and he didn't even believe in them. Despite this, Doma pretended to hear from the gods, but eventually everything came crashing down. His mom had been slowly going insane, and one day, she snapped, killing her husband and then herself. Any normal kid would have been traumatized, but not Doma. In fact, his only reaction was to be annoyed, because his mom had made a bloody mess. Things only got worse, because after meeting Muzan, Doma asked to be turned into a demon, realizing that with his new powers, he could secretly eat his cult members and become extremely strong. Doma's cult and power continued to grow until a woman joined his cult and turned everything upside down. See, Kotoha had an evil husband, and with nowhere to go, she took her newborn son Inosuke and joined the cult. Things went well at first, but Kotoha began noticing that cult members were disappearing, and after spying on Doma, she discovered that he was eating the Paradise Faith members. When Doma caught her spying, Kotoha knew she was in danger. She grabbed her son and made a mad dash for her life, but unfortunately, she ran right into a dead end at the edge of a cliff. In her last moments, Kotoha accepted her fate, but refused to let her son die. With a leap of faith, she threw Inosuke off the cliff, praying that he would somehow end up alright. As we know, Inosuke was rescued and raised by boars, but Kotoha was eaten down to the bone. Ugh. While Doma had no excuse to be evil, Gyoko definitely did, cause his childhood was so traumatic he went insane. Gyoko was born in a fishing village to a happy family, but when his parents washed ashore after disappearing on a fishing expedition, his life quickly deteriorated. The sight of his parents' bodies broke something in Gyoko, causing him to fall in love with dead things, and he began a gross hobby of playing with dead fish. The villagers thought he was insane, so they kept their distance from him, but the village kids bullied him every chance they got. One day, the bullying went too far, and Gyoko finally snapped, murdering his bully and then stuffing the body into a giant fishing pot. Gyoko thought he was free of the bullying, but when the parents discovered their dead son, they gathered the entire village and stabbed Gyoko with a bunch of fishing spears. Gyoko lay on the sand for over 12 hours, waiting for the end to come, but instead, Muzan found him and turned him into a demon. After recovering, Gyoko only remembered two things. Muzan had saved him, and humans were evil. As a demon, Gyoko kept his strange obsession with fish and stuffed his victims into fish pots for later. But even as an evil fish demon, he doesn't look half as bad as Gyutaro, the ugliest demon of them all. You see, Gyutaro was born in the poorest part of the entertainment district, and he was so ugly that his mom hated him, beating him nearly every day. His life was even worse outside of home, because the entire town hated him too. With nobody taking care of him, he was forced to eat insects and mice just to survive. Gyutaro's life just sucked, but everything changed when his mother gave birth to Ume. With a little sister, Gyutaro felt a responsibility to be a protector, even protecting her from their abusive mother. One day, Gyutaro's mother took things too far and tried to shave all of Ume's hair off. Gyutaro jumped in, defended Ume, and then took his sister and left, leaving his mother alone forever. From this point on, Gyutaro raised Ume himself. He was very fond of his sister's looks, and she eventually became an entertainer. Here, Gyutaro found a calling as his sister's debt collector, leading the siblings to finally becoming successful. This happiness wouldn't last for long, because in just one day, the two lost everything. See, one of Ume's customers was a samurai. He was a little too pushy, so Ume decided to poke out the dude's eye in self-defense. The samurai was outraged and burned Ume alive, and when Gyutaro found his sister's burning body, he was devastated, crying and pleading for someone to save her. However, his prayers were only met with a swift cut to the back. Gyutaro turned around to see both the evil samurai and Ume's manager. Apparently, the manager had wanted to kill the siblings for a long time, and Ume's fight with the samurai finally gave the manager a good excuse. But things didn't go out as planned. Gyutaro grabbed his scythe, killing both the samurai and the manager. He then picked up the half-dead Ume and tried to find someone who would help her, but nobody did anything. Instead, a harsh snowstorm formed. Not even the weather was on Gyutaro's side. It was at this point that the two encountered Doma, the current Upper Moon 6. He offered them the choice to become a demon, which Gyutaro immediately accepted. Man, the demon moons all had crappy lives, but Kaigaku was one of the worst, because he was a demon slayer who chose to become a demon. As a human, Kaigaku was an orphan, forced to live off of scraps just to survive. Everything changed for him when one day he was taken in by Kuwajima, the former Thunder Hashira. Kaigaku was trained in the way of thunder breathing, alongside best boy Zenitsu. But Kaigaku was kind of a bully, disrespecting anyone weaker than him. As he trained, Kaigaku became even meaner because he couldn't master the first form of thunder breathing, no matter how hard he tried. On the other hand, Zenitsu could only use the first form of thunder breathing. This led to an odd dynamic between them, with Kaigaku hating Zenitsu since he believed him to be a weak coward. So when the ex-Thunder Hashira announced that Kaigaku and Zenitsu would inherit thunder breathing, Kaigaku snapped. He left the dojo in a rage, which would end up as his biggest mistake. Shortly after leaving the dojo, Kaigaku came face to face with Kokushibo, the strongest demon moon, who offered him a choice between being killed or becoming a demon. Kaigaku's weak willpower gave way, and he agreed to become a demon, replacing Gyutaro and Daki as the Upper Moon rank 6. Kinda crazy that he became a demon because he was a coward. But Kokushibo's similar, cause his jealousy turned him into a demon. See, thousands of years ago, Kokushibo was just a kid training to become a master samurai. He was very talented, unlike his brother Yoriichi, who was an outcast for having a weird marking on his face. But one day, while Koku was training against his master, Yoriichi asked if he could try, and after picking up the sword, he destroyed the sword master in one go. Everyone watching was shocked, and from that point on, Yoriichi was treated like a celebrity, while Kokushibo was ignored. As an outcast, Koku grew to resent his brother, wishing that Yoriichi would just die. And in a way, his wish was granted, because Yoriichi disappeared for the next 10 years. Koku went on with his life and became a master samurai, but one night, his happy life was interrupted. See, while out on patrol, Koku was attacked by demons. It seemed like he was about to die, but Yoriichi came out of nowhere and saved him. Despite having saved his life, this was probably the worst day of Koku's life. His jealousy came back even stronger, leading Kokushibo to abandon his samurai path to become a demon slayer. All he wanted was to surpass his brother, a goal that seemed impossible. Koku trained hard and became one of the strongest demon slayers of his time. He unlocked the demon slayer mark and even became a Hashira. But despite all this, he still wasn't as strong as Yoriichi and couldn't learn sun breathing, instead having to settle for moon breathing, a slightly weaker breathing style. Koku raged at his weakness, but one day, he came face to face with the solution to all his problems. He met Muzan, the Demon King, and finally saw a chance to surpass his brother by turning into a demon. Over the next 60 years, Demon Kokushibo grew stronger, killing demon slayer after demon slayer. He assumed his brother was long dead, but Yoriichi surprised him one last time by appearing in front of Kokushibo as an old man, still alive despite having the slayer mark. Koku was furious and grabbed his sword, but before he could make a move, Yoriichi had sliced open his throat. Koku knew it was all over and braced himself for the killing blow, but when he opened his eyes, Yoriichi had died right where he was standing. Enraged by a feeling of inferiority, Koku slashed his brother's body in half and left, determined to become even stronger. Now, demon moons are just freaky, but I bet the Hashira have secrets even you don't know.